Chaos. Our victory brought order to the land.
When God of War 1 finished, a majority of the team split off and they started making God of War 2. And a couple of us, myself included, and Vasily, the lead programmer, we went off and we started making the God of War 3 engine, and that would have been March of 2005. So we knew we had to get a head start because the goal was that when the majority of the members of the team finished God of War 2, that there'd be an engine, a technology, an art pipeline, all that good stuff in place that, you know, we could start making a game, maybe even a look of like what this thing is supposed to look like.
To start with, we have a very powerful machine now. We have PS3 that has lots and lots of power. But that power needs to be used wisely. That's the challenging part. The main difference between this game and our previous games is that this time around pretty much nothing is a stage piece. Everything is real in a sense that pretty much everything you see on screen you can eventually get very close to and interact with.
We left God of War 2 at a pretty high moment with the gods scaling Mount Olympus with an army of, the Titans scaling Mount Olympus with the army of Titans and Kratos on the back of Gaia, and that's setting the bar pretty high. I look at it as a gamer, what would I expect God of War 3 to start with? Well, I would expect to be part of that war.
Stig wants the war going on at all time. Now, in order to, get those peaks and valleys of everything like that, we're going to have to slow the player down, so that we can hit those high notes and make sure that it feels right. Otherwise, it's just going to feel like noise. So once we haven't started pacing the game yet, but that's one of the things that we're going to have to take into account, And same with, just our big wow moments. How often do those happen? Is there a puzzle right around the corner to kind of slow the player down? Or is there a huge AI fight that we can introduce at the end of that puzzle to pick up the action again? That's going to be stuff that we're going to wrestle with for a while. And that's kind of the process that we went through with God of War 1 and 2 is, how does it feel?
So the first thing that we had to do to make that happen is we had to start developing technology to make Titans a reality. And that's kind of the biggest hurdle that we have for God of War 3. These Titans are huge. They're the size of mountains. A couple of our Titans are as tall as the Sears Tower in Chicago. Put that in gameplay perspective, we could actually take Colossus from God of War 2 and put it in a Titan's hand, like a Barbie doll.
What PS3 does allow us to do is have a humongous deforming world, which is a Titan, and interact with it, place other objects on it. You probably have seen it in the trailer that Gaia has trees on her, and that's hundreds and hundreds of trees, like real forest, and all of that is animated and attached to her skin, and all of that is real time.
Well, that's where we want to take the look. It's like we don't want these environments to be static environments. If we're going to go through a jungle like what we're showing in the trailer, we want that thing on the back of a living, breathing character that's moving around and affecting gameplay while all that stuff's going on. And that's the inspiration from the art right there. Is like, where can we take levels that's not the standard laissez-faire thing that we see in other games?
The first thing we looked at with God of War 3 is, our sub-weapons. They're a weapon that as soon as you play around with a little bit, but everybody went back to the blades. So how do we make that better? How do we make the combat system feel even better and make people want to use those weapons? Instead of just sub-weapons, they're just weapons or style switches. And our theory behind that is with the Cestus, for example. The Cestus, we wanted to make it just as fun as the normal blades. And what we've done with that is we've changed the way Kratos plays when he has the Cestus. They're more like boxing gloves. And they have these gigantic rings on them. And as the rings slide forward, they crush into the head of the Cestus and they create a concussive force. And that concussive force sends enemies flying away that are around you. And so your strategy is you actually want to make contact with enemies, because if you make contact, you're going to blast them away. And in comparison to the blades, your blades, you're going to be hitting a bunch of enemies at the same time, but nobody's going flying away. You're keeping them within range. You're doing more combos. The Cestus are less combo heavy, and you're going to send an enemy flying off a cliff ledge or flying into a wall, and then you can run over after him, combo against the wall a little bit more, do more damage to him, grab him, crush his skull against the wall. A lot more interaction with the world as well. We want to make sure that every toy that you have to play with is fun, you know, and they all make sense for his character. So I think we work really hard in making sure that, you know, from the combat's perspective, we don't go deep into a combo tree where you have to memorize, you know, a certain number of inputs to do this crazy combo. The deepest thing we have is square, square, triangle. And, you know, if once you memorize that, that move is extremely powerful and you can use that as much as you want. So we look at core elements in fighting games and combat, and we find out what's really fun about those, and then we change those to try and make them as accessible as possible. So the Fleece is a good example from God of War 2 of, if you look at Street Fighter 3, it has a parry system, but it's really complex, and you know, mostly hardcore gamers are going to love it, but the average gamer doesn't even know what it means or how it works. But we take that and we turn that into the Fleece, and now Kratos can parry and attack and deflect it and do a power move. But we give him a much larger window to work with. There's a bunch of other combat tricks that we do to make sure that it's accessible. So yeah, we continue that theory and that design with everything we put into God of War.
We know the expectations for God of War 3 are very high with the public and with our fan base, and that's fantastic because that means that, you know, we delivered on those first two products, and then we have a big following. And whatever those expectations are that, you know, the public are looking for, I think that us as game developers and as fans of the series, our expectations are even higher. And it's like, you know, there's been a couple times that we've been making this, especially like from an art end, where you go through those moments of trepidation, like, is this good enough? Is this as good as other stuff on the market? And it's like, well, we constantly challenge ourselves and just keep plugging away. And it's like, you know, we know where we want to make it. We want to make it the best looking game that's out there. We want our fans to, you know, think it's the best looking game out there. And kind of towards the end that we were sort of wrapping this up and kind of, you know, delivering the trailer, there were some times when we kind of stopped, paused the game and looked at it, and it's like, you know, people would kind of go by our desks and be like, oh my God, you know, like, that looks, wow. And then you started to see people in the studio kind of impressed by some of the art. And it's like, that's great. We hope our fans have the same reaction to this kind of stuff.
So I would, at this point right now, I just tell the fans, stay tuned. We will be releasing more information. Expect something playable at E3, as well as possibly a release date. And we're working our butts off right now to try to, like, do the series justice. Thank you.